Welcome back. It's the Kovacs report. As you guessed it, we got another comic book review, and that's going to be Fantastic Four, issue 32, or in this case, Fantastic One, as it's all centers around Valeria. So it's written by Ryan North, art by Cory Smith, and I've recently jumped back on the book, basically. I've been hearing some good things, and I read the last little couple of issues, I think, and it was interesting enough. So I thought, you know what, let's give this a go. Let's get back to Fantastic Four. So, after some events in One World under Doom, Doctor Doom, as a slight towards Reed Richards, did the one thing that Reed could never do, which was basically cure Ben Grimm, make him human again. And Doctor Doom did it with a wave of a finger, less than that. And since then, things have been pretty down. So the gang decide that they're going to get him his powers back. They're going to do everything they can to figure it out, and they decide to travel back into the point in time where they originally got their powers, but they can't alter their own timeline because that would be dangerous. So they go to different realities, and they think that, you know, if he can catch some of those rays again, it will give him his powers back, and it shouldn't affect anything, and it'd be great. But they try and try and try. They fail. There's only one left to do, and that is their own timeline. So they travel back to their own past, where their past selves are just about to get hit by the cosmic rays, and Thing gets in range. He gets hit by the cosmic rays, gets his powers back. But what happens then is that the other members of the Fantastic Four, they don't get hit, or they don't get hit enough to be affected and gain superpowers, which means the whole of history is rewritten. And as they're trying to escape back home, they start disintegrating as the time itself starts wrapping around and basically erasing them from existence. So that's where we are. I know it's a long-winded catch-up, and if you're still watching, thank you very much. Anyway, here we go. Sue's got some protective force fields around everybody, but the temporal maelstrom is rewriting history from the past through to the future, and every second that passes, the shields get weaker, and they dissipate until there is no more. And we end up with Valeria, or rather Mary in this case, okay? And she has sort of been rewritten into existence as a young girl in a city quite like the one that, you know, we're all used to. So she decides to do some research. She discovers that her parents still do exist. And in fact, she is the daughter of one of them. And her brother Franklin is there. So she decides to do what any kid would do, is go and pay him a visit, right? So she's taking over the body of this young girl. And anyway, she knocks on the door, and we get quite a weird reception from Reed and Sue. They seem nervous. They seem very placated, in fact, or dosed up. They seem very yes, hello, very polite, very nicey, and it's a bit weird. So she tells them the truth basically, and they just don't react. They just go, "That's nice. Franklin will deal with it." She's like, "I've just told you something completely off the wall and crazy, and that's it." And they're like, "Yep, Franklin would deal with it." And they basically shut the door in her face. Anyway, she goes outside to ponder what's going on, and then she meets Franklin, her brother, who's taken the form of a giant Galactus. Of course, Galactus is giant. And he's like, "Hello, Mary, why are you upsetting our parents?" So what happens here is, while he's trying to talk to her, he decides to sort of explain a bit. He says, "You're not happy, I'm going to fix that." And that's what he's been doing. He's been fixing unhappiness. So before he could do anything, though, his sort of all omnipotent beingness recognizes there's a terrorist attack in Europe, and he decides to pop off to save that, because he is a protector of the earth, keeping everybody happy. And while that's happening, good old Jean Grey turns up and whisks Valeria away to a place that Franklin can't hear or see or find them. And we find out that basically, you know, this history, as history was rewritten and the rest of the team didn't get the powers, Franklin did, because he was in utero as such, and he absorbed all these powers, and he started manifesting these powers as a young child. When Galactus came, they used those powers to get rid of Galactus, get rid of the threat. And as a young child, he realized that when I do something like this, it makes people happy. And that's kind of stuck with him, you know. And as he's got older and older and older, mentally hasn't really matured. So he's a child trapped in an older person's body, and he taken on the visage of Galactus, as that was the biggest thing that he'd ever saw, and he feels that's a good representation of him being able to protect the earth, protect people. Essentially, whenever he sees conflicts or things that go wrong, he fixes them by basically erasing the brain, basically getting rid of all the bad stuff, you know, a lobotomy of their souls, as it's put in the book. So, you know, the world is devoid of threats, and if there is one, he comes along and he makes people happy. So it's really oppressive, basically, and it's sort of generating a people who are, I wouldn't say mindless zombies, but they'll just, you know, all the bad stuff's been written out of their brains. They're almost automatons. Now, Namor here and Jean Grey, they're a couple in this universe, and they've been trying to defeat Franklin for some time. Professor X didn't last more than a second. Everyone's fallen. In fact, the terrorist attack was them. It was a diversion so they could whisk Mary away. So they have this little chat and they decide that we have to devise a plan. But it's impossible to beat a god. But, you know, Valeria, she's a brain box. She decides that she's got an idea. What she's going to do is she's going to send back her mind to her real self before they get disintegrated into the time, right? And warn them so they could do something. Now, as soon as she turns on this machine to generate this little weird wormhole, the Devourum souls, Franklin Rich himself recognizes that they're there, and he comes in, makes short work of Namor, and pretty much starts erasing Jean Grey. And there's boop, we're suddenly with Franklin and Mary. Then there's a conversation between them, and she says, what you're doing is wrong. And he's like, I'm making people happy. You know, you can't win. And she's right, I can't win, but you can lose. And what I actually did was there was a secret, smaller piece of information that I sent because my mind is too much information to send. So I buried the real message back in the past, and that should be kicking in right now. So goodbye. I love the person that you're going to become. And this version of Franklin literally turns to dust because he never existed now. And then we'll whisk back to where we started at the end of the last issue, beginning of this one. And Valeria says, I've got an idea. I know how to fix everything. And that's where we are. So it was okay. I didn't dislike it. I didn't fall in love with it. It's pretty cool. I'm going to continue the arc. If you like Fantastic Four, I think it pushes all the buttons. I mean, and the art's nice enough. And that's really all I have to say about it. It was okay. You know, it was okay. It's an interesting take on another alternate universe. I like the fact Jean Grey was in there, and the fact that Professor X didn't last more than a second against him. But yeah, not bad. You know, give it a whirl. If you like Fantastic Four, see where this arc goes. Now, those are my thoughts. Let me know yours. Please hit that subscribe button. Please, it would mean an absolute lot to me. And if you like the video, give it a like. Until then, see you soon.